Welcome, everybody, to the podcast.
Hey, yo.
This is the first episode of How to Become a Sales Warrior podcast. My partner and engineer to this podcast is Ty White. Ty,
how you doing, everybody? Hello.
We, as a team, would like to teach a younger generation of salesmen and women techniques that help climb the sales charts and tips on how to become a sales warrior in the networking world as well. Ty and I plan to take you guys on a journey through my book that I published, the website, the podcast. We're going to do deep dives into the chapters, pull out some stuff from there, go into detail on why it was successful, how it became successful. We're also going to have guests come on. I know a lot of top-rated sales guys from around the country, and my goal is to have one on for every interview. We do have a special guest in studio today. We'll keep that on the wraps for a short while longer. When I started to write the book, it was an interesting concept, and I had all these great ideas. The problem was writing a book is not fun. It's a long, draining process, and when I got to the end of the book, someone said to me, "What's next?" And I was like, "Oh, I have to do something next." They said website. I turned to my friend Ty here, who guided me to a web contractor.
Web designer. And he was able to help me build a website. And again, the book took 2 years. The website took 6 months. The website's finished. That same person said to me, "So what's next?" Just doesn't stop. What's next? What's next? Does there always have to be a next? And the next was, I didn't have it. I didn't have the next. And then all of a sudden, October of this year, started networking with people. I got invited to be on a podcast. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And I went, I did it. And when the podcast was over, they said, "You did pretty good. You might want to think of doing a podcast of your own." I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." Went out the next week, networking, chatting with this girl, says the same thing. "Do you have a podcast? I'd love to listen to you." I'm like, "Are you flirting with me, or are you being serious?" Because I am married, so, And she said, no, you got a good knack for it, and I think you do great. And I was like, all right. I got a consigliere. This gentleman, Greg Rand, has been a friend of mine for 20 years. He's in North Carolina. We went down to visit a college, and we stayed at his house. And I started telling him all the things that I was doing, and he goes, "You know what you got to do next, right?" I said, "Podcast." And I was like, all right, this is where I have to go. So that's where the origination of why we started a podcast, because I really feel people thought that I had a good voice to share. The book is very helpful, and Ty is pretty much my first recipient of the book. Yeah.
Tell me how were you the first recipient?
Well, before I even read the book, I knew you were writing a book. Didn't know anything about what it was about. Was it an autobiography? Was it what? I had no idea. So when the book was finally finished, and then you asked me to record the audio book, that was my first chance to honestly understand exactly what the book was about. And 3 chapters into the book, I'm like, wait, this is I know. I didn't even have to finish the book. From 6 months of being around you, I started going into it, and I'm like, oh wait, this is everything that this guy's about. All this stories just made it make sense to me a little bit more. And these are the things that you've been teaching me in sales, slowly but surely. Every lesson I've learned from you is a chapter in this book. So when I say I believed in you wanting to start a podcast based on the book, all of that stuff was because I could firsthand see that this stuff works. I've used it. It works.
When I asked Ty to do this podcast with me, I said, "Would you do this with me?" And he didn't hesitate. And that not hesitating made me think, we got something. And then we started to do some preliminary run-throughs, and lo and behold, we end up here. We're in this fantastic studio at the North Shore TV. We have our producer in the back there. It's Mike, and Erica's the one who brought us in here. We're going to jump right into the book, and it's really, it's not in the book. Chapter 2 starts my sales career out selling candles, but my sales career began when I was 8 years old, watching my older brother go out and cut lawns, rake leaves, shovel snow, had his own money, hustling. And by the time I got to that age, I thought this is what you do. You go out and you hustle and you make your own money. And being able to go door to door and say, hey, would you want me to rake your leaves? You want me to shovel your snow? That was really the precipice of me getting into sales.
Yeah.
What was your first sales?
My first actual real sales job was at Burlington Coat Factory when I was about 16. They promoted me to suit salesman, where I just had to come down, measure everybody out, try to get them to upsell them on the suit. Before that, about 13, I worked at a CD store where I sell CDs and stuff. But the Burlington Coat Factory was the first real sales job where I made actual commission and stuff like that, That
was my first dive into being on my own. But in chapter 2, I talk about we were on austerity. Many of you folks don't know what that is. That's when your school district's budget doesn't get passed and you have no money for after-school activities. And the only way to do after-school activities was to charge a fee, and that fee was $125. And my parents said, no, we don't have $125. And I was kind of bummed. Coach P, he was the coach. You always remember your good coaches, right?
Yeah.
Who was your first good coach?
My first good coach, my PAL coach. I think I was about 11 years old. I ended up doing a job for him actually a year ago.
Jump job?
Ran into him and he didn't even recognize me.
Shit.
And I almost didn't recognize him. It was, we were 9 or 10 years old or something. And halfway through the job, I'm like, Coach. He's like, wait, no way, you're a grown man. It was just,
That's funny. So Coach P, when we got back to school after that weekend, he came up with a company that made candles. And he sent us out with brochures, and the candles were $6 each, and we get $3, they get $3. Everybody wins. So my math was okay. Then I figured out I had to sell 43 candles to make back the money to be able to join the team. And I went out knocking door to door, and I literally went 3 blocks away and sold 50 candles in 3-block radius. Got home that first day, and I said, wow, I'm already there. I could just quit right now. I'm like, nah, let's go see what else we can do. Well, I went out for the next 2 days, and I sold over 200 candles. What I didn't realize was I had to go back to collect the money and deliver the candles. Funny part is, the money, there was $1,500, so I was getting $750, and I had to pay $150 towards the baseball. I didn't make the team. But when I came back and the coach said, you didn't make the team, I said, but was I the highest sales guy? Did I sell the most candles? And he smiled at me and was like, by far. Yeah. By far. And it was like, wow. You ever not make a team?
Oh, absolutely. My first time trying out for football. I was a basketball player, but my first time trying out for football, and I just thought I was a shoo-in because I was faster than everybody. Nope, didn't matter. I was too light in the behind.
I was more proud of myself that I was able to go out there, be successful, knock on the doors, make the money, and there was a purpose. The purpose was to make it onto the baseball team.
Yeah.
And within my book, chapter 2, right after that, I put in things called action statements, and these are things that have stuck with me my entire life. And the action statement for that particular project was, if you believe you can achieve a goal, the only thing standing in the way of it is you. And I believe that to this day. That's what's brought me to this table here. Yeah, you got to believe in yourself, because if you're going to wait around for other people to believe in you to get somewhere, you're not going to get far. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
We're going to dive into each week networking tips. Ty and I do a lot of events. We see hundreds and hundreds of people. There's a chapter in the book about networking, and we kind of like to sit around and shoot shit and laugh about some of the things that we see when we're out there networking. And the one that drives both of us the craziest, when you meet someone and within the first 30 seconds, pull out a business card and jam it in your face. And, I'm Johnny. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, a lot of times. Before they even have a conversation with you, before there's even any commonality, it's just this thing is sitting here right on your forehead.
What do you do?
Usually a polite, okay, all right, walk away. Next table, walk away.
Not run?
Yeah, a little jog, light jog.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are people that are my age, they're just getting out into the networking world and really haven't been schooled in etiquette and forum and what you should and shouldn't do. And they're the hardest people to explain to what not do. I mean, the younger folks are kind of getting it. They're probably a little bit more polished, younger, but I'm seeing the older guys my age just not, it's not the old days, you know, this is a new way of doing things. And when I was at this Melville Chamber event, I got the ear of the president. We started talking about the lack of etiquette in networking. And I asked him if he would be interested in hosting an event, teaching this, sharing with people, not pointing at one person in particular, but being able to talk to a whole room of people who don't really know what they're doing wrong. You know.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That is, you know, not to cut you off, but I do see a lot of the people that we talk to sometimes with these meetings that we have after the networking events, where we have lunches. A lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of young people, sometimes they're like, I know I'm supposed to be there, but I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do when I'm there.
Right.
You know, like I know I'm supposed to be in this room, but now how do I get some bullet points of like, all right, how do I direct what I want to do, what I want to get out of this? Like, so that's a great idea on how to.
Yeah, they were very receptive to having me set up a particular day, invite everyone in for breakfast. I was at an event last week at the Dix Hills Library. Oh my God, stadium seating for a conference room.
Wow.
It was awesome. They had a stage, graphics up on the wall. It was really awesome. I'm really excited about possibly getting that. But it's, you know, that's important. You know, the business card, the handshake, you know. Sometimes people don't even look in the mirror. And you say to yourself, you should.
Yeah.
No insult. Look in the mirror before you walk in. Go to the restroom, came in from the car, check, make sure your hair's not all blown all over here. Check yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you look good.
Yeah, look like you're scrambling into the meeting. You know, you're running late. You know, your tie's still undone. It's not all the way tight, and you didn't brush your hair all the way. But one thing I learned from you the most is walking these events is what you do. I see immediately when you meet a new vertical is you figure out what you could do for them before you even go into your stuff. You know, what do you do? Oh, you know what? I know this, and this that could use before you even pods it even comes out of, you know.
Yep.
They're usually like looking for it. Pods. Oh, you're like, yeah, pods, and then you'll go into it. But your first thing is, what can I do for you? And that opens up. That, you know, puts the guard down of someone like, all right, you're just gonna sell me,
right.
You know. So
it's funny you bring that up because our guest today, who's coming on very shortly, he's also the vice president of a networking group that we run together, and he handed out a book called The Go-Giver about 1.5 years ago. And we've tried to get it around the room for everybody to read it, and it's an amazing 110-page read-through that you just say, I want to be that person, or I am that person, or I'm trying to be a bigger version of that person. And I carry that with me wherever I go. And because I have this networking group of 30 amazing people, I feel like I have all these tools that I can solve everyone's problems.
Yeah.
Oh, you need insurance. I got you. You need a home inspector. I got a guy. I got a realtor. You know, it's a eye opener, like you said, because they realize I'm not selling me.
Yeah.
Where are you at in this world right now? What do you need? Need a contractor? Got him. Need a lawyer? Just got busted? Got him.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many people that I'm connected to, and not just in that group, but in many groups. But that's what sets me apart from other people. You don't want to be the guy that's just begging for business or begging to, you know, let's go have lunch.
Yeah.
Let's go have some coffee one day. My treat. Let's just, you know.
I like you're saying, figure out if there's a there.
And I learned, and I'm going to give a shout out to Jim Brooks from Pods. I've known him for 12 years. He's been the biggest, that's his phrase. Is there a there?
Yeah.
You know, and you get excited and you're like, yeah, there's a there. And even if it's not for me, it could be for my networking group. It could be for the people in the networking group. It could be for you. Yeah. You know, that's the goal. That's the goal.
But that saying, it just means possibility. If there's a, you know, so when you said, hey, we'll set up a lunch to see if there's a there. That doesn't mean set up a lunch so I could sell you, so we can get this deal closed at the lunch. No, let's just see if something makes sense.
I use those lunches to learn about people, because what I've learned about people is I have so many connections because I have 5 children. I'm 60 years old. I have so many stories to connect someone to something. And when you have that longer time in front of them, and you get to share those stories, you become a trusted source now. They actually trust you.
I hear that on your sales calls. And your Rolodex of just, it's not meaningless information,
right?
Because it comes in handy, but just random things that you just know sometimes when a client is talking to you, you can relate to it immediately. I'm like, how did you just know that little tidbit of...
That's my secret power, man. Everyone has a secret power.
But in sales, it's the best thing to wake up in the morning and read the paper, because you never know what client is going to speak to you, and you just read something that relates to what they just said. You might not know about it, but you read up on us. But you read the paper, you might be able to relate in that moment on what they're talking about. And I see you do that a lot.
So I'm going to tell you the story where I learned the first time I actually recognized that I do things like that. I was working for Olin Mill, selling yearbook, church directories. My oldest daughter was a college girl. She had some time off. She said, hey, I want to ride with you one day. I'm like, you know what? I got a great appointment. We're going to go see this pastor at the church, and I'm going to put it all through, and we'll see what happens. She goes, how do you know when you close the deal? Do you say, did I close it? I said, no. For me, every trade that I'm selling, there's a different way of saying it that never makes it sound like you're actually closing a deal.
Yeah.
So for pods, it's make a reservation. With this industry, it was, pastor, could we go look at your calendar and see what works for you?
Yeah.
That's it. Something as insignificant as that. She sat there and watched this. He went and got his calendar. We saw it. There was no wondering, did I close the deal? Because there was a simple wording that tells me if we close the deal or not. And some people get too worried about, is it a deal? Is it a deal? We on? They don't know. If you don't know, then you didn't close it.
Yeah.
If you don't have any next move or next conversation planned, you don't know.
That date for me, even in my industry, moving, junk removal, without that date, the deal's not closed. Like, do we have a date? Yeah, we are for the 24th at 10. That's closed.
Yeah. It's funny. I had a customer last week who, book it for me. I'm like, it's not just book it for you. It's credit card information. Where are we going? Who's meeting us? Oh, what's with all these questions? Like, details.
Yeah.
And like I've told you, it is all in the details. Mm-hmm. The more details you have, the less chance of your job going sideways. Hey, Ty, you know what time it is?
Is it old-fashioned time?
It's old-fashioned time.
All right, old-fashioned time. We're going to take a quick break. And who do we have coming down to have an old-fashioned with us today?
Today, our guest is both of our dear friend to both of us. He's one of my mentors. He's the vice president of my networking group that I'm in charge of, Networking for Charity. He's a man I look up to as a friend. He's a son. He's a father. He's an uncle. He's a husband. He's been in the real estate business for 35 years, both residential and commercial. He is the current president of the Galluzzo real estate team right here in Dix Hills, Long Island. And one interesting fact that I learned about Chris is that his team finished in the top 1.5% of all realtors across the entire United States for small teams, according to Real Trends. So let's hear it for Chris Galluzzo as our first guest. Come on down. Welcome back to Old Fashioned Time.
Oh, yeah.
Ty, why don't you tell us what we're doing here today?
So we're making some old fashions with one of my favorites, Woodford Reserve. Very smooth bourbon. I'm a bourbon guy. We're going to be going through a lot of different bourbons throughout the season. We're going to have a different one every episode. And the significance of the old fashioned to us, it's a drink that I've been drinking for a couple of years now. And one of the first nights that Eddie and I sat down to have a drink, it was over an old fashioned. And he's a tequila guy. So after that night, every time we hung out, he switched to old fashions. And it just was so fitting because the segment that we came up with was old fashioned meets new fashion. I had a lot of new ways of doing things with tech and different ways and of getting around, which some of them worked, some of them didn't. And he had a lot of grassroots ways of getting direct sales without wasting so much money. And when we kind of brought both of them together, the old fashion meets new fashion, it's our relationship, has blossomed because of it. So that's the significance of this drink to us. This is what we get every time we go out, business trips, business meetings. We sit down, we get some work done, and we have an old fashioned.
And who is our sponsor this week for our old fashioned?
Magic Junk and Cleaning. I am the owner of Magic Junk. We are a junk removal, moving, and cleaning company. I work with a lot of realtors, like Chris here himself has sent me a bunch of great jobs, and I've helped out a bunch of clients with Eddie loading his pods. We do labor services, do full house clean outs. If you're selling your house, we'll move you out, we'll clean it up, and get rid of everything that you don't want all in one shot. We're the one-stop shop.
Do you work in Long Island and New York City?
Yes, we do. We work in Long Island. We work in all 5 boroughs, and we also do local moves and tri-state moves.
So the Tri-State, we have something coming up soon working with the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Yes.
They're out in Stamford. It's a brand new league. We have a container up at the Bridgeport Arena there in Bridgeport, and they called me up and said, we're breaking all the fire codes. We got too many boxes in our office, man. We need this stuff moved, and we need it moved right now. And I made that connection to Ty last week, sent him over a proposal, and we're going to be getting on the calendar for him to get up there, Connecticut, and make a move for us. So good stuff there. So Ty is our sponsor. We will be right back with our interview with Chris Galluzzo. Cheers to the old fashions.
Salud.
Cheers to the first podcast. Salud. And again, this has been sponsored by Ty White at Magic Junk Removal. How about a phone number, Ty?
631-615-3853, and you can reach us at themagicjunk.com.
Thank you, Ty.
And I'll give a testimonial. Ty and his company are fantastic. I actually have a job for them right now in Dix Hills that they're going to get a call right after this podcast.
Excellent.
Fellow had a tenant that didn't pay rent for a year and left everything in their house. So Ty is going to go over there and clean up this house. And unfortunately, for the owner, he's got to have this clean out. And thank God we have Ty around to do it. So
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And we'll be right back. And we are back with our special guest today, Chris Galluzzo.
hello.
Chris Galluzzo has a unique story that ties into the title of this book. For 2 years, I had written the book. I had no title. I had a list of 10 different titles. I couldn't move on with the book. I was stuck, literally stuck, because I didn't have a title. You can't produce a book. One night, I'm at a men's meeting with Chris, and he's talking to the team, and he's trying to motivate them, and he gets up, and he says, "You want to become a fucking sales warrior? You gotta do like Edelman. You gotta get out there and you gotta network and you just gotta crush it. That's how you become a sales warrior." Bam! I literally pulled out my phone and wrote it down. I am not kidding you. That is the God's honest truth. That is the truth. And that became the title for my book. So thank you, Chris, for helping me put a name to the book. And
I may not have cursed like that, but yes,
I think you
definitely
did.
raised my voice.
I think you did, but that's okay. That's okay. We'd like you to share your journey in the real estate. What inspired you to pursue a career in real estate?
Well, hold on. Before he does that, let me just say, before you answer that question, Chris, who is my uncle's best friend, so he's my uncle as well, I'm his adopted nephew, is the reason that Eddie and I know each other, number one. He grabbed us both by the shoulder one night at a meeting and said, "I think you two should sit down and talk." Didn't say anything else but that. Just said, "Hey, I think you guys should talk." And the rest is history. But go ahead, Chris. So what did get you into the real estate?
I love real estate. I've loved it since I was a kid. I'm a salesman too. I mean, that's exactly what I like to do. When I was 16, I wanted to be in Wall Street. Wall Street didn't work out. I was in the commodities exchange. It fell apart. 1987, the market collapsed, and I had a baby coming. So I went into real estate. First management, a little bit of everything, but sales was always in my life. When I was 18 years old, I worked at Studio 54, handing out flyers and running people into the club. So I was a club kid, getting people to come. And we would get 300, 400, 500 people to come on a Friday, Saturday night. So I really did a lot of promoting, always promoting. I worked at the Roosevelt Raceway Flea Market, selling ladies' shoes. They would put me on top of a van, and I would hawk shoes, $10 a shoe, standing on top of a van. So I've always been in the sales industry. I love real estate. It gets me going. It gets me to help others. I love seeing a transition from a family that's lived in a house for 30, 40, 50 years, and now this new family comes in with their little children, their little babies, and they're buying this house, and I love seeing the transition. We have a lot of tears at closings, but they're all happy tears.
Moving on.
So I love it. I love real estate for those reasons.
I actually know the answer to this question, but my audience that we're trying to build doesn't. So what sets you apart in the real estate market, especially in terms of your sales approach? What do you do that you believe is the secret to your success?
Yeah, so I believe that my family, and specifically me, have this love for helping others. And we come from the heart. We sell from the heart. We are constantly giving. And when you have that positive energy and you have that absolute power comes from service to your sellers, your buyers, they feel it. They understand it. And when I refer you, and when I refer pods, and I refer your company to clean out or to do a move, I know you can handle it. I know that your companies are going to be solid, and you as men are going to be solid. And I know that that's how my family is. We love helping other people. And when you do that, eventually goodwill comes to you. And that's why we love what we do.
So it's not really a job.
No, it's
your passion.
It's a passion. It is something I love to do. I mean, I've been in it for 35 years. Since I'm 22 years old, I couldn't make any money playing professional soccer. So
Lord knows
I went
you tried.
into real estate.
Yeah. Okay, well, I have a question for you that I'm sure many other real estate agents and people trying to grow to your success would have is, how do you navigate the shifts in the real estate market?
So, I mean, I've been involved in at least 5 market corrections in my history since 1988. And there's been some very, very hard years.
Yeah.
This being one of them. And the last 3 years has been very hard. Inventory is very challenging right now. And in your business too, because of the fact that there's no inventory, people are not moving. They're not cleaning out houses. So as a position, as a realtor, we've been very fortunate that we have been able to get listings. So listings are king for us, and they help drive the industry. What we're good at is I do a lot of guerrilla marketing where I hand out flyers in neighborhoods and I farm neighborhoods. So as a realtor, if somebody's looking to get into the business, do what you know the best. Be an expert in your neighborhood. Don't go hitting patch hog if you live in Deer Park.
Right.
Don't go hit, unless you know patch hog and you grew up in patch hog, but hit where you're an expert at. If you're an expert in Deer Park, hit it. Hit it hard. Hit that neighborhood. Go hand out flyers. Go knock on doors. Talk to people. Go on their Facebook pages. It's all about getting in their face. 7 touches. You have to touch them 7 different ways. And you can do it. It's very hard in this market, but if you're going to be a realtor, you have to get out and about.
It's funny you say 7 different touches. By the 3rd touch, my clientele, it's either you're in, you're out. You know, it's over. Yeah. Well, 3 times. If you get past 3, then you got some serious stuff.
Well, I think that you're speaking about substantial touches. Mine are maybe just handing out a flyer in their mailbox.
Right.
Yeah. Now that's a touch. Sure. Or hitting a post on Facebook and like constantly following up on Facebook leads. Those are touches that aren't personal. Those aren't warm touches. I mean, most of the time, what you're getting is you have warm touches if they're calling pods,
100%.
or if they're calling you. Those are warm touches. I'm talking about total cold touches. You know, handing out flyers, blitzing them, going through my Rolodex, calling up people. This a little different than a warm touch. So
I have a personal question. It's going to be a little off of our agenda, because I've always admired realtors, real estate agents, because I feel like that's some of the hardest sales to go find and go grab. Are there a lot of just layups in your industry? Like, are there any layups, or are there, like, you know, because in my industry there's some things where I got to search out and find it, but there's some times where there's just a couple layups waiting for you that you just grab it and it falls in your lap. And
well, I have a story. So I showed a friend of mine, very good friend, 110 houses, 110 from pretty much Queens to Suffolk County. And then I finally sold them a house, and it was really wonderful. It was exciting that I finally did after 110 houses.
I hope so.
And moving and shaking and doing everything that we could, and we finally found a deal. The week after, another friend called me up. I showed him one house, and they bought that house.
Oh, jeez.
Real estate is not an exact science. It's very subjective. There are subjective businesses in here. You don't really know pricing. You have to be an expert in it, which we became experts because we know the areas that we're in. However, layups come very few and far between. But when they come, it's very nice.
It's a blessing.
So basically, a layup is, hey, you meet somebody, you send them to the first house, it sells.
Once in a while, you get that.
Ty gets layups from me.
Yeah.
And that's why I know that's why he brought it up, because I'm in touch with the client. She's ready to move. And my last conversation after I booked the container is, do you need any help loading the container? Oh my God, you got someone? And it's like the big smile comes across my face. I shoot the text to Ty. You're going to call this person. And it's closed.
That's a layup.
It's already closed.
That's a layup.
They know Andy. Andy said Ty's great. Go.
Hot leads.
Hot leads.
also-
Sorry, you call them hot leads.
You know what that speaks to, though? That speaks to the people in your referral groups, or the people that are referring your business and you're doing the same for them, how well they know your business. That way, when they are doing that referral, by the time that person gets your number and that passes off, the deal's already closed. He knows my pricing. He knows what I provide. By the time he passes me off to the client, they call me. It's just like, hey, I know everything.
What
already.
day?
I just want to, what's the day?
When you come in and walk through
and
this.
It's knowing you, liking you, and trusting you.
100%.
Once they do that, then it's a layup. Most deals are layups if they have that kind of tenacity about them. Now, I was in the hot tub the other night just relaxing, and I get a phone call. I'm answering.
I'm taking it. Yeah,
I get a phone call. It's from a friend of mine, Anthony, one of really, really wonderful. He's a financial advisor. And he says, I have a deal for you. It's a friend of mine whose uncle died. They're going to be selling their house in Dix Hills. Oh, really? He goes, Chris, it's your listing. You just have to go and take care of one of my best friends.
Do what you do.
And you have to handle it because we trust you, we know you, and we know you'll do the right thing for the family. And that's why some deals are layups for us.
Yeah. How do you build and maintain strong relationships with your clients in such a competitive? I mean, there are lots of sales reps out there claiming to be real estate agents, and I use the word claiming because, some of them are part-timers, some of them sell their mother's house and become a realtor. Right. What sets you apart?
Well, there's 26,000 realtors on Long Island alone.
Oh, geez.
All right, and my wife and I and my son, and now my other son's in the business, we are in the top 1.5% of not just Long Island, in America, which is really fabulous. What sets us apart is many different facets, but I think because we really care. We have a love, we have a passion, people trust us, and we're really good at what we do. We work hard, we're working 7 days a week, we answer our own phone. There's no 1-800 number to call, and then you get somebody in Philippines or in Minnesota that answers the phone call, then transfers it over if you're busy. No, we answer our own phones. We meet with people personally. We have a whole family that we're with. It's my whole family. We go there personally, and it just builds up. The whole business plan is revolved around us helping other families.
You're going to answer this question. Again, knowing the answers, but I love hearing your version of it. Networking is crucial in our business. So what do you recommend in the networking world for future realtors who young, just getting into it, late 20s? What do you recommend?
So I heard your introduction earlier, and it was really impressive because, to tell you the truth, we network a lot. You do, all of us do here. I love networking, and you're right. It's not about giving my cards away. I don't even really give my card away until in the networking process, I build rapport. And, sometimes I don't even give them a card. I'm already giving them a deal.
Yeah.
Listen, you sound like a really wonderful person. I have a deal for you. I have an idea for you. I have an introduction for you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm already thinking 2 steps ahead of where we are at in that little discussion so that I can give them a deal. That's how you are too, Eddie. I know you are, and Ty's the same way. We're givers, and at some point, we hope to take.
I got to tell you something. Everyone's always looking for a deal. And I get that. And Ty and I had this conversation yesterday because a customer claimed I didn't give them a deal. But they weren't comparing apples to oranges. They were comparing apples to oranges, excuse me. And what I always try to say to people, it's nice to get a deal. But if part of the deal is one-on-one customer service, one-on-one response, one-on-one action when you need something, didn't you just get more than everybody else? Because when you call a call center, you don't know the person on the other end, you don't know their name, and you'll never get them back on the phone a second time. They don't place enough value in that. It's very frustrating. Because this happened just yesterday with Ty and I. Oh, he didn't give me any deal. Yeah, I did. I could prove it. Not going to go there. But didn't I make him show up? Didn't he tell you to get 3 containers and you chewed him down and said, we only need 2? Guess what? Guess how many containers they needed? 3.
Well, that speaks to also in our partnership, a lot of our clients, as you know too, people are in a bind. They got to go. They don't prepare. They wait till the last minute. And then when things become bigger than what they assumed or what they originally imagined, it's like, all right, who am I going to blame? And it's like,
yeah, I get thrown under the bus a lot.
Yeah, he's usually the one.
He's easy. Yeah, it's Eddie.
My next question is for the younger generation and for both, to be honest. Technology in your field. What's the importance of using new tech in the real estate industry? Because I know there's a lot of new tech coming out for moving and junk removal. I'm a part of it. I'm trying to make new apps that'll make it easier for junk removal. So me and my friend are working on something where you take a picture of things, gives you a price on how much it gets removed, and then you see something coming like an Uber, you see the truck coming, it'll come and get the stuff, tells you who's driving it, you pay right there on your card.
Sounds like a great idea.
It's a great idea. So
hey, am I in on this? I didn't hear my name.
So technology in real estate, how does that look?
So I think, number one, you're already starting a podcast, right? Podcast is informative.
Yeah.
People like it. Video, people like video.
Yes.
And a lot of times now we're doing it, but what we're doing in our videos, we do a lot of social media. My son's really amazing. My son, Christo, he's really advancing us. Mm-hmm. We've hired people to do our social media broadcasts.
How's that work?
And they've really failed.
Okay.
So Christo and my family have been doing it ourselves now. We're starting to ramp up. Podcasts are really great, and something like this is going to help you. Social media is fantastic. LinkedIn, LinkedIn's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
LinkedIn's a hidden little gem. Maybe you don't get a ton of leads, but you get quality leads from LinkedIn, and you get them from TikTok. And a friend of mine sold a house for $4.3 million off of TikTok.
I believe it.
They never put it anywhere else. It was only on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok every day.
So, that being said, social media and these things do work. Yeah. However, people first. You have to be able to talk to people.
Gotta connect.
You got to connect. If you're great at doing a podcast, but then you go meet with somebody and you have nothing to give them, I don't mean give them a discount. I don't mean give them things. You have to give them quality. Right. You got to give them service. Service before self is so important in this life. And if you can do that, it works. It really works.
One of the training techniques that I've been able to share with Ty, because he spends time in my office, is learning how to be a better listener. We're all weak at it, but when you're aware of it and you need to listen. For myself, put the pen down, I put the phone down, I pick up the pen, I open up the pad, go, ask me anything. And I let the people speak until they're completely drained of any questions. And while they were saying it, I was taking notes, marking off my answers so that when I come back and I review with them what they just said, at the end of the conversation, it's not about, are we hiring Eddie? It's about, when are we starting? Because I understand their project. I took the time to listen to them, take the notes. It's not just to listen, I took the notes. I repeated back to them what they're trying to do, reassured them I was listening. And when you do that, people love you because not everyone does that.
And that's big. I learned that from him, and I've seen it work wonders already in my calls, because I used to be so in a rush to solve people's problems that before they could even get the problem out of their mouth, I was like, hey, I got it. I can do this. But half of the battle is they want to be heard. They're going through something. They want to get their problem fully out. They want to let you know what they're going through. And as I started to listen to them, I'm like, you know what? Just let them go. Let them go until they're just done. And then you go into your spiel. But now I've noticed a difference in the engagement just by listening. And you're one of the best teachers of that, but be a good listener. He's the first person to tell me to be a good listener. And that was in the terms of how being a man in your household and your relationship. And then you told me the same lesson. It just happened to do with business, but it all goes hand in hand. You know, and I learned a lot from you too, man.
One thing about listening, it's not just listening, right? So we could listen. I'm listening to you right now.
Yeah.
Right? I listened to both of you as very clear and concise, and you were very forthright. But it's also body movements. It's also body motions. Mm-hmm. It's also noises that a person might do, or crossing their arms. It's a defensive pose, right? Yeah. So we have all these different mechanisms that, leaning back, leaning forward. Mm-hmm. So when I go through my interviews and I'm interviewing people to see if I want to sell their house, because there's some people that don't really want to sell their house because you can't deal with that.
Too argumentative, too frustrating.
Correct, and unfortunately, it's very hard when you're dealing with somebody. My family just had to give back a listing. It was very hard to deal with this. They were very, very difficult. And we gave back the listing. Fortunately, we're okay. We don't have to worry about one listing. But it was very hard to deal with somebody that was really tough to deal with.
So one of the things I've shared with Ty is you don't want every job. You want every job that fits you and what you do. You don't need to be so desperate. You take a job that you know is destined for failure because the person was challenged from jump and it hasn't changed between one phone call. Sometimes you just walk away. It's just a better way to go.
Correct.
My question for you, and please don't use COVID. When negotiations get tough and the surroundings change, how do you change to still close the deal?
Well, I don't think we've changed any of our operations. The way we handle closings and negotiations is we've always done it the same. First of all, I don't underprice houses ever. I don't believe in that method. But as far as negotiations, it's I'm the door opener in my firm. My wife is my closer. In Manhattan for 30 years, I was the door opener. I would go find buildings to sell. I would find apartments to sell. I was the man out front and doing all the work, the grunt work, going to networking events, going to sales, meeting people.
The fun stuff.
The socialization. And my partner back in the office was the one who did all the negotiations, all the deal making. So I'm fortunate that I have my wife. My son's learning it now too. I push it to her when I get to that point. She's very good at it. She's relentless. And once you get to that relentless portion, but also caring, she's really good at it. I get it done too. Don't get me wrong. I've been doing this for a long time.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt. Hey, Mike, shoot up the picture of the four of us, my wife, myself, Chris, and his lovely wife, because like Chris, without my wife, there is no success. Together, we're a team.
Right.
She may not work for Potts, but she works for the Edelman household, and the Edelman household is very important to both of us, as well as Elena is so important and integral in, when he says that he's opening and she's closing, when you meet Elena, that's exactly what's going on. And it's so true to have a partnership like that with someone who they're your yin to your yang, and they just make the project work so much better. And I have that with Maria. You know that.
Absolutely.
You've known me for almost 4 years now, and like my personal life is always centered because my wife is so centered, and she keeps me centered, and that's, it's an amazing gift.
I've worked with a lot of realtors and from different, Keller Williams, Douglas Elliman, all over, and I've never seen people do the above and beyond the way you and your wife do. It's like you're still in the house taking stuff out, she's picking stuff up, and I'm just like, this still, the stuff that you're not getting paid for, where you're just trying to make sure the people are comfortable. I respect that.
Yeah, well, we represent a lot of people that don't live in New York, and they have an elderly parent that's 93 years old, just passed away. They don't even come to visit. Yeah. We handle everything.
Remote.
We handle the estate sale. We handle the getting rid of all this stuff. We handle everything. I got to tell you, they don't even want to come to take stuff anymore. They just want everything thrown in the dumpster or sold.
Yeah.
So if they took their pictures already, and that's it, they don't even want pictures half of the time. So unfortunately, Elena and I, my son and my family, we do everything. It's fortunate, though, because we're fortunate. They're fortunate to have us here.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that regard. We do really care about that.
You do.
We've done that multiple times, even in the last 4 years, probably 20, 25 times.
I've had to tell your wife, like, I got it. She's still like, I'm going to pick up a tray. I'm like, you called me for a reason. Let me work.
Well, we do donate a lot to Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Long Island. We love them. Mark Cox is a friend, so I try to give them a lot of business.
Nice.
I'm going to say, after COVID, because I don't want to talk about COVID, after COVID, what was probably the single most valuable learning experience to a closing that you went through that you could share with if Ty was a young realtor coming up? One particular event that happened in a closing that really, if you had known just that little bit of information going into that closing, things could have been so much better.
Well, I'll tell you about a funny, it's not a funny, it's sad. But I had a closing where husband and wife were divorcing, and they had 4 children. Yeah, 4 children. And during the closing, they were fighting, really fighting, and they were sitting next to each other.
Ooh.
And the husband at one point was getting very agitated, and he stood up and he raised his fist, and he was just about to throw the punch.
Ooh.
And hit his now ex-wife. And I grabbed his hand. The other lawyer from the other side of the desk dove over the table and were holding him back. Calm. We were calm. We could have been not calm.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we took him, the attorney and myself. I have to say, the attorney was very good too. We spent 3 hours with him, getting him off the cliff. And we ended up closing. But he was so agitated. He said, "We're not closing. This is crazy." And the animosity that he had with his ex-wife was really, it was really sad.
I get it.
Because he has 4 children with that person, and they were really fighting. Fast forward, they're getting along now. They're talking because I talked him off the cliff.
It's nice to know you had a little something to do with that.
I did have something to do with it.
I believe you did. I mean, I know you personally, and I know you're a calm demeanor. Again, I called you last Friday. You talked me off a ledge, so that is your personality. You're up, Ty.
Let's see. As far as, because one thing I noticed, it seems like you always have a lot of energy, no matter what the situation is. Whether it's a mask, whatever it is, what are your routines that keep you in that mindset, that keep you up early, that keep you sharp?
Well, I get up at 5 to 6 in the morning every day, something like that. 5:21 is actually my time where I set my alarm.
Yeah,
6:30.
But I do. At that point, I'm doing my social media. Mm-hmm. I'm writing birthday cards. So every day I write birthday cards. So I write probably about 900 birthday cards a year, but I personally write them.
He does, because I got one. I know that.
I personally write my birthday cards. I personally write the envelopes. I sometimes wax seal them, but that takes a long time. So I have my little Galluzzo with home, but that takes time. So sometimes I'll get lazy and I'll just put a regular sticker on the back. So that's my first 2 things. I'm already hitting social media and my work with birthday cards. Then I'm at the gym. If I'm not at the gym, I work out every single day, 7 days a week, doing something. It could be, I made a commitment 15 years ago because a friend of mine, Stephen Milner, who works at Mortgage Concepts,
Hey, Steve, what's up?
US Bank US, I think, US Mortgage. But anyway, he's a great person. He always told me, do 80 push-ups a day, make a commitment. For 15 years now, I've never missed a day. I've done 80 push-ups or something like that. So maybe one day it's not 80 push-ups, it's a 5-mile bike ride.
Right.
So I can intermingle that. And then I go into my day. So my day starts off, I'm very big in networking. So we have a networking group that we do Tuesdays. I go to Hop Hog Industrial Association. I go to Melville Chamber of Commerce.
Don't forget the Comac Rotary.
But that's it. So I'm the president of the Comac Kings Park Rotary, which I love. If anybody doesn't know it, the Rotary is one of the biggest institutions in the world. They're very helpful. They give a lot in charity. I'm very involved with them. This is the Gift of Life. Gift of Life is where it's a huge charity where we fix children's hearts. A lot of children around the world are born with holes in their hearts, including America.
Absolutely.
In America, it's pretty easy. They can fix them pretty easy. It's insurable. The doctors are experts in it. They can get them in and
Third
out
world countries, not
while
so
they're
much.
babies. But we just had a baby in from a young, well, actually she was 8, from Guyana, and we paid for it. So our whole Rotary program pays for them to come from Guyana. She stayed with my friend in Deer Park. Wow. She lived with them for 2 weeks in their house, and they took them back and forth to the hospital, and other Rotary members would actually pick them up too and took them from the airport.
That's great.
And then the girl was a little lethargic. So when they first got there, she was kind of lethargic. She wasn't really moving so much. And she's 8 years old. You'd think she'd be able to. After the surgery, within like 2 days, and her heart was bigger. The hole was bigger than they thought. The doctor, Levchuk, he's actually a fantastic heart doctor, surgeon.
I think he's plugging the doctor.
And he's really amazing. But he thought it was like only 1 centimeter, I guess it is, but it was like 1.8, which is something they never really do.
Wow.
And they did it.
Wow.
And the girl was smiling and laughing and moving.
got energy
And now
back
she's home and she's excited and she's doing really well. So
that's beautiful.
It's really a fabulous
one, right?
thing.
No, I combined.
So, you and I are in a networking group every Tuesday morning, and you know I'm always trying to pull information out of everyone who comes there. Give us the rundown. What's going on in your industry? Tell us about it. And some people in our group get uncomfortable because they don't want to speak. But I'm doing it because I want to learn. What trends are coming up that you see? Okay, we had the high mortgage rates. We had the inventory with 50 people showing up, and every single one of them bidding overpriced. What trend do you see next?
Well, thankfully, the rates are going to come down. They have to, another quarter point.
I heard the Fed's going to cut the rate.
I think so. Maybe not until June, but it's going to happen. But we are seeing a lot. I mean, in January this year, and December and January are notoriously vacation time
Sure.
for realtors. December and January are when, in Manhattan, Long Island, most landlords don't even have leases that end in December and January
Correct.
because they don't want people to move out during the holidays. So this year, though, December and January have been the hottest months in history for
Wow.
December and January. A friend of mine's mortgage company had $26 million a year. I mean, in January alone. Whereas normally he does 20 million, 18 million. This January is the highest one he's ever done. He's been in business for 15 years.
That's
It's
amazing.
pretty amazing that the market has changed. As far as rates, yes, the rates are coming down. I still see buyers out there right now. Last weekend I had 4 open houses, and we had 35 families come to the open houses. 35. That's a lot. And these are $1.2 million to $1.7 million houses. These are not inexpensive houses. So it's, and the other thing is, when somebody says they had 50, 60 offers,
Please.
that just means they underpriced the house by $100,000. And they don't know the market that they're in. You know, I had 50 offers.
50
well, you
offers.
did something wrong.
Yeah.
So
We weren't making any money.
So, the last question of our interview, kids going into the real estate industry. We're not going to say 21 because that's rare. 25-year-old, you meet him at a networking event. He says, Chris, I want to get into this. I want to go all in. What are the first 3 things I need to do to get somewhere closer to the next level other than being a part-time realtor? What do they need to do?
Well, first I talk to them. You know, I want to know more about them, because if they can't speak about what they're doing, their passion, I tell them to go find another business.
Smart.
You know, if they're not salesmen already, like feeling it, like I don't feel it from them, warm and cozy, I'm like, you're a barber, right? Though I have one of my barbers the other day came to me. I'm going to go into real estate.
Oh, shit.
So I said, you know, you're a wonderful barber. I have to tell you, and you cut my hair really well.
So much in the real estate.
Right, but when do you have time to be a realtor? Just tell me, just when. So he doesn't really have time. So long story short, he's been in it for 6 months now. He hasn't done one deal. And I have a lot of friends also that are in the business because they think it's easy.
Easy.
real estate is probably one of the hardest businesses you can do. You're in it 7 days a week, 24 hours. Now, some realtors can take Mondays off. I have friends that take a Monday. Oh, Monday's my day off. I don't work that way.
Phone rings, you're answering it.
When I need to take a day off or a week off, I find a way. However, for a young man or woman to come into the industry now, I tell them they really have to go out and work open houses. So be at open houses. Tell everyone social media is great, but also you have to tell every one of your family members, I'm in the real estate business, and I'm really in the real estate business. I'm not in this part-time.
Just selling grandma's home and calling it a day.
Right, because that's what usually happens.
Yes.
I have so many agents that have either worked for me because I was in Manhattan for years. I was doing real estate in Manhattan. They've either worked for the company and they've come in, they sold their grandmother's house, their cousin's house, their friend's house, and then they're out of the business. Or their own. Some people it works out. They sell their own house, they buy a new house, they sell themselves $50,000 in commissions.
Great job.
Great job, and then they're out. So, but the main thing is really to get out, like what you're doing, podcast, social media, go to networking events, try to find things that are free to go to, because you can spend, to become a realtor, you're already spending money. You're spending $600 for insurance. You're spending $600 to be a realtor. You're spending monthly fees. You're splitting your commission with whatever realtor. If you're at XYZ Realtor, you might be giving them 50% of your money at the closing table. And then you're paying 30% tax, 33, 40% tax.
Oh, where's all the money?
So your $10,000 really comes down to about $3,000.
Yeah.
So it's something I tell, especially young men and women, that I feel like they shouldn't be in it. You don't have the disposition. You don't have the ability to go for a ride like a roller coaster. Real estate's like a roller coaster sometimes. 2006, 2007, it was a really tough time. People were getting foreclosed, banks. I was in the foreclosure business in 2006 and 2007, and truthfully, it was a nightmare. There was so many foreclosures. And then one day in 2009, I'll never forget it, I had 9 deals in contract worth about $7 or $8 million. And the Bank of New York said, oh, these deals are fraudulent. We have to cancel them all. So I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to make money? I was counting on over $150,000 of income off these deals. They're gone. So I got wiped out. So it's something you always have to be prepared for. You have to put money aside. You have to be prepared for the future, and just always be closing, always be selling.
Well, you know what it is?
ABS.
You know what it is? It's that TikTok and Instagram and Facebook are making it seem like being a successful real estate agent is so easy. They're making these 30-second clips of, you could flip houses. All you need to do is this, and they say it in 25-second video. They lay out 4 steps that you could easily do. It's not that easy.
Correct.
So
If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it.
Here's what I'm going to tell our future audience. Like something like that.
Yeah.
I've been watching the Galluzzo team for 3 years. I've been watching their posts. I've been watching their videos progress to podcast interviews, progress to drone videos that I know Christo is doing. If you want to learn about the business, these are the people you reach out to. These are the pros. These are the ones who separate themselves from the part-timers and the I'm almost in there kind of people. They are the ones who close those $1.2 million. Listen, you close a $1.2 million, that's equal to $3.3 million. Would you rather sell 1 home or would you rather sell 4 homes to make the same money?
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? I take any listing.
I know
I'll
you
sell
do. I know
any
you
town.
do.
I love real estate anywhere. Yeah. So I don't want to ever pigeonhole myself.
But you said it yourself. You focus on where you live.
Absolutely.
You know Comac, Dix Hills, Deer Park, because you grew up there. Your kids went here.
1,000,000%.
You're in there.
And I love it.
And I personally, I said to my kids, I'm going to have a special guest on my first podcast. And I'm like, oh, yeah, who is it? I'm like, who's the most popular guy in Comac? Like, it's Galluzzo. I'm like, yeah. My kids know who you are. She's 15 years old. Your kids are 15 years removed from possibly being known by that. But that's your reputation. Sharing the Go-Giver with me at our networking team just totally affected me because he's a recipient of the Go-Giver. Let's make this guy a star. Let's build his business. And people kept telling him, he has an ulterior motive, or does he really care about you, or is he really interested in your success? What do you think?
Monkeys.
Monkey. Chattering monkeys.
Chattering monkeys.
He is my partner here on this podcast. He is my partner in life. So, Chris, it has been really awesome to have
Thank you
in
very
here.
Well, if you need to reach us, I guess my number
Give me your
is
number. Go right ahead.
631-774-3333. 631-774-3333. Great number, right?
Yeah.
Do you have an email website to go to?
So GalluzzoTeam.com. That's Galluzzo with 2 L's and 2 Z's. GalluzzoTeam.com. Follow us on social media. We have the Galluzzo Team. You'll find us everywhere. And thank you very much for this interview. It was great.
Love to have
I
you.
wish you all the best on your first podcast.
Thank you.
First one, number one.
Thank you for inviting me as the first one. I
And
love it.
helping me name this
And
book.
how to
You
become
did
a
it.
sales warrior.
You did
so
curse.
my mantra has always been absolute power for my family. You know, my warrior status. So
Yeah.
that's why that name came out, because I'm an absolute warrior for my family.
Yes.
And so now that's how it's synonymous.
Well, thanks again for having us
Thank
here.
you.
We'll be right back. Well, that is our first podcast. Ty, what do you think?
I
Got
am
something
excited. Yeah, I'm excited. Super excited.
I would like to personally thank Michael Peters. He's the programming manager here at North Shore TV. I'd like to give a special shout out to my new friend Erica Bradley. She's the executive director. Is that the right title for you? Yeah, that's it. Appreciate you letting us be here today and helping us put this all together and giving us your sharp criticism when needed. We do appreciate that. We need it. I personally want to shout out to Christopher Allen Clothier. He's got my shirts, he's got my jackets, he's got my pants. I want to give a shout out to Chris Cardizano. He's a real good friend of mine. Ty, you want a little promo for your company real quick?
Yeah, man. Magic Junk and Cleaning. We are a moving junk removal cleaning company. We like to recycle, repurpose, reuse anything that can get donated. We work with St. Vincent de Paul. We work with Open Door Exchange. We work with the Big Reuse. A multitude of different Habitat for Humanity, Angela's House, a bunch of different donation facilities that when they see our trucks come, they know it's coming. So anytime you're selling a house, you need things cleared out, give us a call, 631-615-3853. We'll make sure that what needs to be recycled gets recycled, and what can be repurposed and reused will get repurposed and reused. And we also have a website, themagicjunk.com. You can feel free to reach us there.
And we'd like to thank the Galluzzo team for showing up today. Personal friends for both Ty and I. He's the reason we are actually here connected. Thank you all very much. Look forward to episode number 2.
And we're out.
Oh!